Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, the information on today's program is gathered from many different places and many different people. So if you hear yourself in our conversation today, please remember, it is not all about you. Today, I'm going to start off with a little something different. I'm going to start off with a statement by Albert Einstein. Now, this statement was brought to me because, well, quite frankly, I was listening to a person speak, and they kept telling me how much they were speaking about hope. I'm not so sure that that's really where their brain was. Let me read this to you, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll see how it works out. Is the universe friendly? I think the most important question facing humanity is the universe a friendly place? This is the first and most basic question all people must answer for themselves. For if we decide that the universe is an unfriendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to achieve safety and power by creating bigger walls to keep out the unfriendliness and bigger weapons to destroy all that which is unfriendly. And I believe that we are getting to a place where technology is powerful enough that we must either completely isolate or destroy ourselves as well in this process. If we decide that the universe is neither friendly nor unfriendly, and that God is essentially playing dice with the universe, then we are simply victims to the random toss of the dice, and our lives have no real purpose or meaning. But if we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to create tools and models for understanding that universe. Because power and safety will come through understanding its workings and its motives. God does not play dice with the universe. Albert Einstein. The more I spent time with this, the more I tried to come across the absolute good pieces about it. You see, that was the topic of the lecture of the morning, and, well, I have to tell you that I never really put a lot of thought process into, is the universe friendly? Growing up in a small town and then moving to, well, not a big town, but a fairly large one, having my career and working through, then being able to travel around the country and visit other towns and counties and states, I don't think it ever really came to me whether or not we were friendly. I found there were certain places that were friendlier than others. But this whole thought process comes from that great thinker, Albert Einstein. And this paper that he entitled, I think the most important question is humanity. He said that most important question, is the universe a friendly place? He said that this is the first and most basic question all people must answer for themselves. You see, my first reaction, quite frankly, was to think about Star Trek. And is this what someone from another planet would ask? Is your planet friendly? I don't know if that's something they would ask. But I read the paper over and over. And as I read the rest of the paper Einstein had written, I realized it was more than just a dream thought that he had written down one day. You see, I found, quite frankly, that this was a deep thought process. He was trying to say that each of us on the planet must make a conscious decision, a choice to make our world a friendly place. The next question for me was, well, what are some concrete things I can do right here in my home right now, in my home, in my neighborhood, in my city, in my church, in my county, in my state, my nation, in my world? What are some things I can do right now? And I really started putting some hard thought process into it. You see, I think this thing of a friendly world, I think it's more than just a thought. So let me share with you some things that I believe we can all do, myself included, every single day to make our world a more friendly place. First of all, in my home. In our world today, it seems that having a conversation can get you in a lot of trouble, especially if you kind of really relay what's on your mind without some conscious thought of the words you use. So I believe in order to bring this friendly world into shape, I need to start at home. And I need to have some conversations, some open conversations that are really free of all the stuff. But it has to be open and honest. It has to be a place where sharing ideas, sharing morals and values happens. When I was growing up, and even as when we were raising our family here in the home, we would oftentimes try our best, and we did a pretty good job at it, always be having the family together sit around the table and having those conversations. And our one child was kind of quiet maybe, but he was funny, he'd tell you funny stories. The other one, she would ask you questions that you didn't sometimes want to answer. But the only honest, open communications that happened at that dinner table, I believe, was that start of sharing our morals and our values and things that were important. This encouragement of the openness of concerns. We found that the concerns that were brought up, not just by Miss Robin and myself, but by our children around that table, were sometimes really heartfelt and brain used. And what I mean by that, they came from their heart, but they had some thought process and sometimes many hours of really mulling it over before they came to have a conference with us. But I believe one of the most important things we do is we share our triumphs also. We share our good times and our bad times around that table. No matter what book you read from, you'll find that the breaking of bread as a family, as a group, brings people together. That sharing of knowledge, that sharing of oneself, bridges many gaps. It brings a way to make normality out of a strange situation. So breaking bread as a family, having open, honest communication, I believe, is a way that we can answer this question. Are we a friendly place? The next one I kind of grabbed a hold of, and this will be different from all of you, depending on how you grew up and where you grew up. I called it the neighborhood. In the neighborhood I grew up in, there was only 3 houses, so it really wasn't a big neighborhood. There was just my uncle and our house and my grandma and grandpa, so it wasn't a big neighborhood. But as it started to grow up around us, we found more neighbors who are around us that we came in contact with. Here where Miss Robin and I live, we've been in the same house over 40 some years, and we've had the same neighbors on, well, on one side that whole time and across the street the whole time. And we found out that that sharing of the neighborhood, and now that it's changing, we're having to stretch ourselves by getting out and meeting new people. Sometimes it's welcoming them into the neighborhood, and if they don't know where the grocery store is or something else that they need, being that helpful servant to help them find their way. But our neighborhoods, you know, I remember that where some of my friends lived, they had a front porch. And it seemed like everybody was on the front porch and everybody was looking out after one another. And that neighborhood was more than just people you live next to. The gentleman who lives next to us, he's a lot of fun. I make sure that I go out and get the newspaper every morning. We have our little talk about what's going on in the neighborhood. Now, it's more than just gossip. It's who do we need to help and who do we need to pitch in with. And I certainly hope that when my time comes, and if Miss Robin's here by herself, they do the same. Making it a more friendly place, it really takes this to take and get out of our shell and build those relationships. The next one, the city, I found a little harder. I grew up in a little town. A little town where everybody knew everybody. If you walked down the street and you did something you weren't supposed to do, by golly, somebody would take care of it, and then they would call your folks. But growing up now is a little different. But I've noticed the young people who are on our neighborhood street here, they all like to stop here and get their bikes fixed. They know Mr. Powell, he's got those tools and he'll fix our bike. Well, that's worked out pretty darn good, because on Halloween, my house never has a problem. Some of the other houses do. But you know, in your city, you can be a welcoming party to everyone you meet. You can have a smile on your face and a song in your heart and wind in your hair, and it won't hurt. Doesn't cost you a dime. You go to the grocery store and somebody's in a little bit of hurrier than you are, you can let them get in front of you. If somebody doesn't have the right change, you can really help them out. You see, in a city, it's like a big neighborhood. And in my world, I think of it that way. So I'm always looking at, is there someone I need to help? Is there some place I need to pitch in? Is there something I need to do? Here where we live, we have some beaches, and the beaches become littered with all sorts of stuff. And so when we go to the beach now, we just take a bag and we pick up stuff. And it's not a big deal. But it sure helps the city out. You see, it's those little things that people used to do without even thinking about it, and that now is a drudgery. Can we make it friendly? I think we can. I really believe that if we start at home and we look at our neighborhood and we look at our city, we can really make a difference. In our church, wherever you call that, synagogue, whatever, you know, that's not the part that means a lot to me. It means that, first of all, that if you go to one of those places, you have a community that you're within. And within that community, you can do some things. You can be part of that communication that's open and honest and sharing ideas and morals and values that stretch back to the home, that stretch back to the neighborhood, that stretch back to your city. You can encourage other people to listen first before they make up their mind. That openness of concerns and triumphs. And I'm going to encourage you, as often as you can, to break bread with your family there at the church. I just can't get over this enough, for what breaking bread with one another does. It's more than just sharing a good meal. It's sharing the conversation. It's sharing the camaraderie. It's sharing the same concerns or hopes and wishes. Sometimes it's sharing the same fears. And how do we help one another come across in that certain way? You see, that in itself is what becomes so important as we look at these things. So when the question really comes down to is are we a friendly nation? Are we a friendly place? I believe that we can make this universe friendly if we put some of these things into our world and choice. But there again, we have to do something. It takes action to make this all happen. Now, in our county and state, I put those kind of together. If you haven't traveled, if you haven't moved out of your area more than 50 miles from around your home, I'm going to encourage you to do so. In order to understand other people and other places and how things happen and their values and the way they live and their mores and everything else that goes with it, you have to take some action, which means you actually have to make a decision to move out of your world. I'm not saying move your household, but you can take a trip. You can go an adventure. You can experience as many new people and new cultures and places as you can, because that will really change the way you think about things in the world. When you become just a person locked in your own world, you can't see how everyone else is living. And that, my friends, might change the way that we are friendly to one another. So in your city, in your county, in your state, spend time getting to know one another. Now, in our nation, again, get out and see it. It's so funny to me sometimes that people who are around us, they want to take and go to Europe and other big countries, and they haven't really spent the time to get to know the people and places within their own. One of the things that we do here at our world is we're trying to do our best to reach all the national parks across the country. And by doing that, we have met some marvelous people. And it's really changed the way both of us think about other people in other states and how that we react to them, because now we know better on how they think and act. It has changed the way we do it. Now, if you have the ability to travel the world and you want to go out of the United States, hey, I'll go for it, man. Just do it. But spend more time getting to know the people and the places and the culture versus the bar you went to and the food you ate. That's what's important. It's building bridges. This thing of being friendly is all about building bridges and making choices. And that, my friends, really starts to set off a different thought process for us all. So I'm going to reread this thing from Albert Einstein. And I want you to spend just a little time with it. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to hear the words as I speak them to you. And try to understand what Albert Einstein was saying all those years ago. And put it in place in where we're at today. The title of his white paper, we would call it today, is the universe friendly? All right, here we go. Is the universe friendly? I think the most important question facing humanity is the universe a friendly place? This is the first and most basic question all people must answer for themselves. For if we decide that the universe is an unfriendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to achieve safety and power by creating bigger walls to keep out the unfriendliness and bigger weapons to destroy all that which is unfriendly. And I believe that we are getting to a place where this technology is powerful enough that we may either completely isolate or destroy ourselves as well in this process. If we decide that the universe is neither friendly nor unfriendly, and that God is essentially playing dice with the universe, then we are simply victims to the random toss of the dice, and our lives have no real purpose or meaning. But if we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to create tools and models for understanding that universe, because power and safety will come through the understandings, its workings, and its motives. God does not play dice with the universe. Albert Einstein. So when I ask you those questions of what can we each do to make a difference? What can we put in place, each of us, each and every day? To answer that question, is the universe a friendly place? It's hard to answer, but I believe that we have the power to do so. We have the power to really start to look inside ourselves, in our home, in our neighborhood, in our city, in our churches, in our countries, in our states, our nation, our world. When you start really thinking to yourself, have I been friendly to all those around me today? Well, anybody's driven on the highway lately knows there's some pretty unfriendly people out there. Well, what were you? Were you unfriendly? You see, that's the question I ask when I'm out and about. That's the question I ask when I answer the telephone. That's the question when I answer the front door. And that's the question we all need to really put forth in front of us all the time. You see, it's a choice we make. It's a decision that we come to on how we're going to live our lives and show that to the people around us. Again, I believe this all comes down to a couple things. It comes down to really having a smile on your face and taking the time to build bridges and build relationships between one another. Taking the time to move out of our home safety net and really understand other people. You see, having those conversations will build this a friendly place. But they need to be honest and open. They can't be sugar-coated, they can't be left out. You need to find ways to have common ground. That's the way bridges are built. And every time and everything I've read and everybody I've spoken to says there's one common denominator that really changes how people think about others. And that is the sharing and breaking of bread with one another. Sitting down at a table and enjoying a meal. No matter what it is, no matter where it is the taking the time of preparation sometimes where we all work together preparing it, and then sitting and enjoying it, and having that conversation. I truly believe this is where open, honest communication will come across. This is our opportunity to answer these questions. The gentleman who started this whole question for me when he was giving his lecture never gave us any way to think about how do we make a change? How do we answer that question? And how do we put it into our lives? Leaders, I believe that's our duty. That's what we're called to do as leaders. Is to help people understand how to do this, how to make the change, how to stick your hand out, how to put a smile on your face, how to talk to other people. I just don't think in my mind when someone lays out an opportunity that gives you no way to do it, I'm not so sure that's somebody I want to follow. So ladies and gentlemen, I've tried to give you some thought process here, some ways to put it into your life right now and get going, and I hope you do that. I want you to remember that we all have a choice to make and answer, is this universe friendly? We make it friendly by sticking our hand out and a smile on our face. We make it friendly by enjoying every day as a brand new adventure and with those people around us. We do it by understanding that if we make a mistake, we can use that mistake as a growing and learning tool instead of something that's not. We understand that if we're going to make this a friendly universe, that we're going to need to dream big, be bold, and take action. We can't just wish it and hope it comes true. You know, that just doesn't work, and it never has. We need to, well, I'm going to tell you what. I think in my mind, might be a big dream, but I believe we can actually do this. I think we need to have that open, honest communication about what our non-negotiables are, what our values and morals are, what are we afraid of, and why. And really dig down to it and find out what the bottom line is before we jump to conclusions about ourselves and others. I'm going to encourage you to build your sphere of influence. Find people who you can really share this information. Be open, honest, and share it and learn from each other. I believe that's going to be an important piece. And I believe that we can all look deep inside ourselves and find out what really drives us, what's really important in our world, and make those choices to move forward and be a better person, a better nation, and a better world. You see, this thing of preaching fear and all the rest of that happy is it's nonsense. What we need to be preaching is action. And action is sticking your hand out, shaking someone else's, having dinner with someone else, exploring differences of opinions rationally, letting the other person's talk until they're just all wore out so you can understand where they're coming from, traveling to other places and experiencing other cultures. All these things are going to work to our help of answering the question, is this universe friendly? You know, when Albert Einstein said this, and it's been many years ago now, and he said that, the most important question facing humanity, he said that, is the universe a friendly place? I hope you can spend some time with this in your thought process these next few days. Now, on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, I want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope and desire is that you've gained a nugget of wisdom that will help you build yourself into a better leader. And also to build others around you, because that's really what we're called to do as leaders. Now, if you have any questions or comments on today's program, please do not hesitate. Give me a phone call, 727-422-1833, 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org, dick@ewfw.org. Go to the website, spend some time, look around. There's a little button there you can send me a note. Go to www.ewfw.org, www.ewfw.org. And when you know for a fact you're ready for me to come and help you through some leadership opportunities, put on a keynote, maybe even do a team building opportunity with your leadership organization, give us a phone call, send us an email. But I urge you to get on our calendar very quickly. We book up very quick during the year, and we want to make sure that we can serve you. Now, I see my time is just running short, so until next time, this is D.W. the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.